Hello. Okay. Let's get this stream started. I'm going to give it a few minutes, but what I wanted to do was just get some things working. Let's open up some music for myself, and then we're going to be doing some pixel art stuff. And I got a new build of Pixel Vision 8 that I want to test, and we're going to try to clean up ReaperBoy a little bit more because I'm looking forward to adding some new features to that when I come back from my trip next week. What's all right, let's switch back over here and let's get everything organized. So we'll hide all of our tools at the top. I have a new build of Pixel Vision 8 that I need to get from the transfer folder. This should be build 704, and we'll move this into the current build folder. We'll see how well the stream goes. I got my boys are still off of school, so we'll see how long they'll let me actually work for. And one of the things I actually want to do is, well, now we'll load this up as is. Let's boot up Pixel Vision 8. And I'm just going to start getting myself sort of organized here. We'll put this over here, and let's take a look at, whoops, I forget that this hides my mouse. ReaperBoy update. What I wanted to do is reduce the sprite count to 2 pages. So we're going to focus on this. And let's do this. So I'm going to create a new... Let's go into demos. Oh, there goes my dog. I love how quiet it is in my house. My ooh, interesting. Unauthorized access is denied. Why can't it delete that project? Sandbox. Get info. Who are the permissions? I was just trying to delete something. Oh, I only have read only. Let's do read and write, and we'll apply that to everything in there. I've been moving around some projects and stuff. What I was trying to do real quick was I just want to delete. Cool. We're going to delete the current project I was working on, and we're just going to try to do this from scratch. So let's move this to trash, and we'll focus on this folder. So basically what we're going to do with Pixel Vision 8 today is we're just going to try to clean up ReaperBoy, which is a game that I created for Ludum Dare. And what I wanted to test out was just seeing if we can reduce the sprite count so that and work with how sort of sprites work in Pixel Vision 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually in I'm going in the demos folder, and for Pixel Vision 8 for Game Creator Pro, I've now included ReaperBoy, and what we can do is we'll click Edit, and it's going to copy all the files over from the game into our sandbox folder. And what we're going to try to do today is the first thing we need to do is let's go and let's just create a new. We're going to force it to create a background PNG. And the only thing that I included here was a tile map JSON because I started moving over to tiled. But we're going to, we'll set this to 1, and then we'll set this back to empty and click save. And what this is going to do is it's going to generate out a few different files, one of which is our tile map PNG. And we're going to go in and we're going to remove these sprites here and basically try to reduce the sprite count. So one of the things that we have to, sort of take into account in Pixel Vision 8 is how much memory we have for storing sprites. So for this game, I went ahead and I extended it to 3 pages of memory, but the Game Boy template itself really only has 2. So what we want to do is we're going to take a look at how we can actually reduce that count. And in order to do this, I'm going to copy out. How do I want to do this? Let's just focus on the sprites. I'm going to copy out this sprites file, and let's just put this on the desktop for right now. We can delete this stuff. So this right here is going to represent the, well, when it loads up. This right here represents all the sprites sort of in Pixel Vision 8. And one of the problems we had was that we ran out of memory. So I'm going to sort of illustrate how this works, and we're going to start from scratch. So we'll go into the new tool here, and we're going to delete the existing game. And we're going to start with just a Game Boy template. And I'm going to walk through sort of how Pixel Vision 8 handles loading in sprites, how it handles color mapping, and the other thing that I want to do is handle how it how we can reduce sprite counts to increase to maximize the space of the sprite RAM when we're using a specific template. So let's get started. In order to do this, we're going to create a new Game Boy template. So let's just create this new Game Boy template, and if we were to run this right now, we're just going to see the basic default text that you get for any of the Pixel Vision 8 templates. And what we want to do is, I've opened this up, which is the ReaperBoy artwork. We're going to go to File, and we're going to save this as a PNG, and we're going to look for our workspace folder, sandboxes, and we're going to save this as sprites PNG. And now if we go back into our game creator, let's go to the sprite tool, and we're going to take a look, and we're going to see that right away just everything is sort of messed up. And there's a pretty specific reason as to why this is happening. Now there are some things that we're going to play around with just to sort of walk through how Pixel Vision 8 loads sprites into memory. The first thing we want to do is let's go into the sandbox folder, and we're going to sort of take a look at two very important files. Now, Pixel Vision 8 by default relies on a colors PNG, and in fact, let's go ahead. We're going to delete this color map, and we're just going to leave it as the colors PNG. So if we were to refresh this now with just the colors, you'll see nothing loads up. Even though we have sprites here and we have a default font, it doesn't know how to actually load these graphics up. So what we'll do is we're going to open up the colors and the default font, and I'm just going to show you real quick how this works with colors and default, with the default font and the built-in colors of a Game Boy. So the Game Boy is sort of a unique system template because it has two different color profiles. What we're going to do is we're just going to focus on, if this was a generic Pixel Vision 8 project, how do we match up our artwork with the colors that Pixel Vision 8 expects? So we're taking a look here, and the way that the font is set up is that the font color should be set to the first color in the colors PNG. This way, if we wanted to change the font, we could just shift the color offset by the value that we want to change it to. So we'll make it 0. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to select all of the black for the font. And we're going to pick the first color here, which isn't picking. There we go. All right, and now I'm going to I basically just hit Alt Delete, and what that did was it turned the black into this very dark green. Now, if I save this and we go back into the game creator and refresh, you'll see that our font now loads up. And that's because in order for Pixel Vision 8 to actually load your sprites into a game template, it needs to match the colors in the PNG with the colors it expects in the system. So let's go over to, we're going to close that out, and let's open up the sprites in our actual folder. So what I'm going to do is just for right now, I'm going to remap these colors. And just to sort of illustrate some of the things you might have to do based on the template you're using. So we'll start with the darkest color, which is black, and we're going to set this to a dark green. Next, we're going to go for the next color, and I'm just going to work my way down all of the colors and remap them to what the color PNG is expecting. So now, if we zoom out and we take a look, all of our colors are now remapped to the same color space as our colors PNG. If we save this and we reload the sprite tool, you'll now see all of our sprites have been loaded up. The one thing that we're running into a problem though is that because the Game Boy template only uses 2 pages of memory, we are running out of we've run out of memory for storing the font. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go through and I just want to remove some sprites that I'm not actually using. So the first set of sprites that I didn't use in the game were these bad guys here. I'm just going to delete them. And I also, I didn't use the spikes. And I'm trying to see if there's anything else I didn't use. I didn't use these mountains. And everything else I did use. So let's save this. And now we'll come back in here and we're going to reload it. And let's take a look and see. So we've gotten to G. So it looks like we still need to actually replace some sprites. And I've been thinking about this a lot. Of course, when I was building the game during Lunum Dare, I couldn't really think of how I wanted to reduce the sprites because I was just so rushing to get the game done. But I'm going to simplify this splash screen, and we're just going to remove this chunk of sprites right here and see where that gets us as far as sprite count goes. So I'm going to take these big chunks where I know I can simply remove. Let's just do something. Let's just do this. We'll block this out and we're going to set these to this green. And I'm going to delete this right here. Now, since this green block already exists in other places, our sprite count should go down. Let's save this and reload this now and take a look at we're up to V. So we're getting much closer. Next, what I want to do is get this curve back in. So I'm going to delete some of this stuff and I'm going to try to pull out some curves that already exist. And see if we can get just a little bit more organic feeling here. Not 100% sure I want that there. Maybe we can like play around with this. A little. Like if we came, well, you know what we can do? We can actually just use this line here. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to reuse the sprites. We might have to remove another character just to make sure that we wind up getting rid of everything as we expected it to be. I'm not liking any of this. I just got to find another thing. I might just have to draw. I'm trying to reuse as much of it as I can. Like even this looks good. There might be one other place where we can pull it out. But let's do this. Let's save this real quick. And if you're just tuning in, what I'm trying to do is reduce the sprite count here so that we're staying within the Game Boy's template. So I'm going to hit Control 4 in Game Creator. And all right, we've gotten VW. So let's be a little bit more aggressive now and see what else we can get rid of. if we got rid of this guy, I actually really like this guy, but let's just, there actually aren't that many sprites in here that we're going to get rid of, but let's delete that guy real quick and reload this. And now we're at the lowercase letters. I don't think there are any lowercase letters though. So we might be where we need to be right now. In fact, a lot of the times what I do in these games, especially when there's like a low memory count, is or like when there's not a lot of memory, is I'll go in and I'll delete sort of the lowercase letters, and we just make all the text uppercase, which I think is enough. I want to bring that guy back in. There's got to be, I'm going to try to just look through here real quick and see if there's anywhere else where I can it's going to be hard. Everything else is really used. I mean, if I got rid of, that's only going to give me 3 sprites, but actually it'll give me 4 if I delete it like this. Let's take a look and see what that gets us to. So that gets us to Z. And I think that's enough. Like if we come back in here and let's go into our font, I'm not going to use any of these other characters here, like the brackets, the pipe, or the enye. So what we'll do is we're going to reduce this font. We'll crop this here, and we're going to get rid of this character. And this will just be our our basic font set, right? And in a lot of old games, oh hey, download more VRAM. Sorry, I'm using I have in twice, or is that just detected and omitted? Yeah, hey Andrew. Yeah, it automatically it'll automatically combine sprites when it sees that they're where there's multiple of them. Blah, I can't speak all of a sudden. I got all nervous. Andrew came into the room. Yeah, the engine will automatically look to see if there's duplicate sprites and get rid of them. So let's reload this here. And look, we got 1 extra sprite, so that seemed to work out. I mean, so to Azernris, I hope I'm saying your name right. Yeah, I could actually I could go into here and go to data, and I could change this to allow 3 pages of sprite memory, which would solve all my problems. And in fact, during Ludum Dare, that's sort of what I did. But what I'm trying to do is I wanted to get this game sort of compressed to show off like what a good game that runs at the at Pixel Vision 8's interpretation of a Game Boy spec. So let me go back into the data and reset this to 2 and lock the specs. So I don't have a tile map. Okay. So that should be all of the sprites optimized. Like these are a little bit wasteful. Like there are some ways that I could have like done other ways of optimizing, but I think the splash screen will still look fine. And let's see. Thanks, Andrew. Glad you like it. This is what 2 years of working on this game engine has done. So all right. So we now have a more optimized sprite sheet. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to, this is the source. Pixel Vision 8 will just automatically go through and ignore the empty stuff, but we're going to crop this down, which will just make importing this a little bit faster. So let's save this. And the time is sort of discern. You can't really discern the time. Like that's how fast it loads up right now. I mean, there's not a lot of pixel data for it to go through. The next thing we could do is we can hit compress. And what compress is going to do is it's going to take exactly what's in memory and dump it out to a PNG. So instead of having to deal with like going through and figuring out whether a tile is empty, it's going to go through and just automatically give you just the sprites that you're using. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So here we go. This is the compressed version, and you'll see a page of memory should be 128 by 128. So there's 2 pages of memory here with 1 extra sprite. Although, oh, this is the empty sprite too. So that's basically how Pixel Vision 8 will handle artwork. And like I said, the most important part is that if you're bringing in sprites and stuff, that you match them up to whatever the color's PNG file is. Now, Pixel Vision 8 does something really unique for the Game Boy template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how the color mapping works, because that's sort of like an advanced feature and something that the Game Boy template is the only one that uses that. So what I'm going to do is let's close out all this stuff. We're going to just make a copy of it here. And we're just going to call this sandbox back. And I'm going to come back into here and we're going to create a new Game Boy template. And I'm going to sort of show you like how we would bring this artwork into the new Game Boy template. And then we'll bring it into the ReaperBoy project and take a look at it. Let's see, Andrew's saying, because of helping you with this again, I've been replaying Game Boy and NES games in Japanese so I can soak up some more of that style. Good. I'm glad we're helping each other out. Andrew, 2D Heroes here. He's we've been working on these like art packs. I feel like for almost as long as, actually longer than I've been doing Pixel Vision 8 for. And I finally asked him if he would just go back through and get all the artwork down to 3 colors so that they would work in the. There's 2 templates here that use 3 colors, which is the Family and the Game Boy. So they have restrictions. The PS right here is colors per sprite, which is 3. The Master System has 6 colors per sprite, and the Game Gear has 8. But what I was trying to get done was I basically wanted to see if Andrew and I could create a template that would work across all of these, and we're going to go for the minimum spec, which is actually technically the Game Boy in gray, 4-color gray with 3 colors per sprite. And then from there, we'll recolor it from the NES, and then the Master and the Game Gear will be something else. I don't know. I'll figure out how we want to do that. So that being said, I went ahead and I just created a new empty Game Boy template. And what I wanted to show off was a feature of Pixel Vision 8, which is this idea called color mapping. So let's open up, we'll open up these 3 files, and I'm going to sort of show you how color mapping works. So this was our default font. Whoops. And then we have our colors and our color map. So before, what we did in order to get this to work, Andrew, the sprites are forced to 3 colors because even on the hardware at the NES level, the first color of the palette was always the background color. So I just treat it as transparent so that'll always show through. So if it's a sprite, you'll just see whatever is below it come through. If it's a background tile that sits on the background layer, you will see the background color show through. And the reason why those sprites are limited to 3 colors per sprite, especially with the background tiles, are that background tiles actually have transparency. You can have sprites that show up behind the background layer. So yes, you are stuck with only 3 colors per background tile, and the 4th color will always be shown through as the clear background color. Hopefully that makes sense. So before, what we were doing, in order to get the default font to show up, since this is in black, was that we remapped the black to this green, and then we were able to see it. But the default template actually uses a thing here called the color map. And what the color map does is it allows you to create your artwork in the color that you want. In this case, the Game Boy really was a black and white system with two tones of gray. So all of the artwork and everything was really designed to this color, and then it remaps it based on the display. And this is sort of like a hacky sort of emulation, allowing you to say like, hey, the Game Boy might have had a green screen because in the real world it was just sort of tinted green, but it really was a black and white system. So what we're going to do is we're going to remap all of the artwork to the correct grayscale. And then I'll show you some things we can do here to change the tinting so that this it actually just acts like it's a Game Boy screen. So what we're going to need to do real quick is just remap our sprites. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go to our backup project, and I'm going to copy out the sprites, and the default font. And we're going to bring this over to our current sandbox, which is the project we're working on, and we're going to replace that. And then let's close this out and reopen our default font, and we'll start with this. Because right now at this point, remember, all of our old stuff was mapped to the green color space. So if we came in here and we looked, there won't be any sprites to show because it can't match up the colors of the sprites. And now, because there's a color map, it's actually going to use that as the palette index. So here in the Finder, we'll open up our default font. And I'm just going to select the dark green color, and we're just going to remap this back to black and save it out. And if we refresh everything here inside of the game creator, you'll see everything is now set to, you'll see it's set to this dark green, because it's actually showing you the true system colors, which are these. This is what the system sees, or what it actually displays. But it's really reading this. And I have to work on the UX to make this a little bit clearer as to how these sort of relate. But what you'll always see in the engine is the is basically the color that it's mapped to. So in this case, the first slot is going to become this dark green. And the other reason I was talking about why we set the font to the first color in the color map or the color PNG is that we can change the offset. So in this case, I'll set this to 1. It'll make it a light green. We can change the offset to 2. So I'm basically just palette shifting right now, and I'm cycling through the system colors in order to create a lighter font, but it's always using the same background. And the other thing you can preview is using the background color. So by default, 0 is the background color. So in the Game Boy system, this dark green is going to be your background color, as you can see here. So here, if we come back to our sprite tool and we toggle the background mask, you'll see the background color shows through. And if we set this back to 3, we'll now have our exclamation mark showing. If we were to go out of range, like let's say we set this offset to 5, this will show a magenta, and it just shows you that this color is out of range for the system. Now, if we were to run this, I'm pretty sure that it actually wouldn't display. We should test that out while we're at it. So let's take a look. If we run this right now, you'll see our template is actually missing characters, and that's because in order to save on sprites, what we did was we basically made all the characters uppercase. So let's go into the text editor. I don't use the text editor much. This is very like experimental right now, but what we'll try to do is there's also like no code highlighting, so it's like so hard to actually see what is there. I don't remember in Lua how to let's open up Chrome. Lua uppercase. I don't remember how to do uppercase. String lower is what it is. Okay, so let's do this. Lines string upper. Let's just see if this works. We'll save this. I haven't tested out the code editor much. It's really, like I said, I prefer you guys using something like Atom, which I have a plugin for. All right, there we go. So everything now is uppercase. The code editor is really just there for, you know, debugging, and eventually I'll make this work. There's actually like a bug where it's not scrolling all the way to the left, but let's pretend like that actually works. So the other thing I was going to show off is, right, if we shifted the color, so let's find where we're drawing the text. And if we shift the color, right now it's set to 3. Let's set this to 5 and save it. This might break everything. I don't know. Something is yeah, I broke stuff. This is why you shouldn't use the text editor. At some point, I'm going to go through and clean this up. I don't know why it's so buggy. Maybe that's what's missing. We'll save it. At least it saves. There we go. It's magenta. So that's a bug. That shouldn't actually happen. All right, I'm going to file that as a bug. Let's see here. GitHub. I'm trying to finish up the last of the... let's take a screenshot. So if you hit Control 2, you can take a screenshot. And... I'll just... I'll file that bug. In a live system, you shouldn't see that magenta ever. It should default to a game creator. Let's see. Let's create a new issue. Let's see. Display showing mask color when font is out of range. After creating a Game Boy template, change text offset to 5 and font shows as mask color. That should default to background Gucci color. All right, so I'll fix that bug later. What I want to go back through and sort of show you is how powerful the color remapper is. So let's submit this bug. I was so close. I was almost done with all my bugs today. Let's close that and close this. Andrew was asking, doesn't the Game Boy have white as a background color? Yeah, you can set it to white here. There was no real, well, I mean, there was really a white. There was the original, like the Game Boy hardware is running at 4 color grayscale, but you need to actually, like, Pixel Vision 8 defaults to the first color in the system color, which is always black for its background, or whatever it is, depending on the system you're in. All right, so we've remapped the text, and all that works really well. So let's take a look at how to get the sprites to actually show up and using the color map. And I'll show you sort of how powerful this is. So we're gonna open up the sprites here, and I'm just gonna remap these colors again, which should be pretty straightforward. This dark green is black. This next green will be this dark gray. This will be a light gray, and then this will become white. So now we've remapped ReaperBoy back to its grayscale. And now if we come back into the Game Creator Pro, and let's just take a look at the font. Obviously, let's just take a look at the sprite memory. You'll now see all the sprites are showing up, and we have 2 pages of memory. So what are some of the other things that we could do with this? Like, let's take a look at, if we were to look at Game Boy Color, I like how it auto selects ROMs. Game Boy Color palette. Let's take a look at some of the other, like the Game Boy Color palettes, and see if it shows me what these colors were. I don't like the way that this. I don't like the way this looks. Where's the there should have been there should be a way Game Boy. Let's see here. List of Game Boy colors and styles. List of Game Boy colors and styles. Game Boy colors. Ugh. How about this? All right, here. List of video game console palettes. Now, I think in here somewhere is there's the NES. Here's the Game Boy. So you can sort of see right here that the Game Boy is this gray scale, and then the original was this green. But here's what I was looking for. These all of these share this black. So let's like do this brown, for example, right? So we'll copy this image, and I'm going to go to the colors PNG here. We're going to create a new image from what we copied over. And let's just remap this. So now I can just use this tool. So this is black. Whoops, let me... then there's this color, this lighter color, and this white, right? So that was if you, let's see, what was it? If you held up, you would get this sort of shifted brown color. So if we save, let's save the colors PNG, go back into Pixel Vision and reload it, and you'll now see everything has just been remapped to brown. But what's really cool is that we actually are we didn't have to change our original artwork since it's mapped to the original grayscale. All we're doing is changing the system colors. And in fact, like one thing that we could do is we could create palettes for all of these different colors, and then based on whether you start the game by holding up or down or left, like we could basically simulate that. In fact, that might be a fun little exercise for us to do and to sort of test out shifting palettes. We would have to shift the palettes across the board. I wonder how I would do that. Well, I don't know. Let's save this Pomodoro and we'll go from there. So basically, we've reduced the sprite count to 2 pages, removed the bad guy from the top left of the splash. Let's see, what else did I want to do? Let's submit that. And what I want to do next is let's I want to move add a subtask move new artwork back. Whoops. Into the project, which we'll do next. All right, so one last thing I wanted to show that's really powerful is the fact that so even though now our colors are mapped to this brown, well, that's going to be broken because I didn't fix the offset. I got to really spend some time cleaning up this text editor. Set that to 3. It's super buggy. It's functional. If you like torturing yourself when you build stuff. All right, if we were to rerun this, you'll see it's still black and white because the upper bounds of this were remapped really well. So one thing I want to say is, like, let's say we compress the sprites now. So since there's a color map, when it goes to export the compressed sprites, it's going to use the color map as its source. So as you see here, it's now exported the color map using the original grayscale from the color map. And this way it'll make sure that you're always able to, you're basically building to one palette. You may want the display to look differently, and that's sort of where we go. Now I did think of how we could I thought about how we can do the emulation, and what we're going to do is we will add that in. I think that's a pretty interesting, that'd be a pretty fun little Easter egg. So add in Game Boy Color Style Palette Shift. On startup. Okay. We'll add that in as a little test. I haven't tested changing colors out on the fly in a while, so this will be a good time to test that out. So let's we'll do that. We'll close out all that stuff. Now what I want to do is I want to bring all this stuff back into the project. So let's do this as back to. And we'll go into the Finder and let's look at, we'll go into demos and we're going to reload the original ReaperBoy here. So we'll run this, everything's good. What we need to do real quick is let's generate out, if we're going to change any of the sprites, we need to make sure that we generate out a new PNG for the tile map because of I had to like fix some of the issues with the way that it saves out JSON files for the tile map. So for right now, just follow me here. What we're gonna do is let me set this to empty, and we're just gonna force this to save out a new PNG for the background. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna delete the tile map here and the sprites cache, and remove those to the trash. I should actually do that here. Let's do that in the system. I got to keep testing out all the stuff instead of relying on doing it externally. So let's look for the tile map JSON file. We're going to delete that, and then we're going to delete the sprite cache. So coming back into here, you'll see we have 3 pages of sprite memory. If we were to run the game, everything should work because we're now leveraging the tile map PNG, and we're using the original sprites PNG. So looks like the tile map flags got messed up because he didn't spawn at the right place. Huh. Interesting. Tile map flags. Whoops. Maybe it's just off. Let me take a look at something real quick. I wanted this match up to make sure that we're loading in the right tile map flags. I gotta wait for this thing to render. All right, now it's done rendering. We'll load this in, and whoa, that is trippy. All right, it looks like I need to fix this. Okay, so what's happening there? That was a bug that I must have introduced this morning. I was having some trouble where when I was rendering the background flags, I'm not having it clear out the hold on, let me take a picture of this. Whoops. I'm not having it clear out the background. That's a little problematic. First off, I gotta file that bug. Let's see here. Game creator. See, this is why I test this out. Building a game engine it's really complicated. It's a lot of moving parts, especially this one. This one's gotten, like, over the past 2 years, pretty complicated. Let's see here. We'll create a new issue. Need to clear background in tile map editor when scrolling. Need to move draw rect call to scroll if rendering background layer. This is a 2-second fix. Labels, bug. I should actually just fix it real quick. Here, I can probably do it. Let me quit out of here and go into documents. I'll have to manually fix this, but show package contents, resources, data, streaming assets, systems, Game Creator Pro tools. So this is how you can actually see all of the source code if you buy the Pro. Well, even the Pro, the free, but if you buy the Pro, all the source code for the tools is basically in the package. It's not open. The tools aren't open source, but I invite you to go and play around with them. Let me open up Atom real quick here, and it is, can you free up a bunch of tiles by flipping half of those big enemies? Yes, you could also do it by flipping them. I don't have a really good system in place for automating, like drawing large sprites and leveraging flipped tiles, but that would be, if you were going to do this like how a real like 8-bit system would work, you would flip the tiles. In fact, let me see if I can just patch this real quick, and then we can then I can sort of show how that works. Am I in? Whoops, I'm in this project. I want to open up the tile map tool, Atom, and go to code, and it should just be, there should be a draw rect call that I added this morning. We'll have it do that, and then whenever we invalidate here, we'll just redraw. This might slow things down, but there doesn't seem to be any other way around it. Basically, the flag layer in the tile map doesn't have a true background, so I have to like actually like force draw a background behind it. Cool. So that's not displaying anything now. Maybe I'm being too aggressive. I bet you I put the clear in the wrong place. Yeah. Let's clear it before we copy all the pixel data over. Maybe I can refresh it. Yeah, okay, cool, that works. This is one of the best parts about about the game creator is that it's all Lewis, so I just have to hit refresh and I don't have to recompile anything. All right, so here's our flags, and okay, cool, everything is working. I just wanted to make sure that the flag layers were aligning correctly, which they seem to be. All right, whatever. What I wanted to do next, I was going to show the little ball just asked about flipping sprites, and that is built into the engine. So where's like a good, like, okay, so like this sprite right here and this sprite right here are basically the same. So you can use the flip preview to take a look at what they would be like flipped. This doesn't really take that into account. I might build a better parser that would go through and take flipping into account and compress this down even further. The bigger problem is that when you call draw sprites and you pass it in an array of sprites, the sprite gets treated as a single individual sprite. So there's no way of passing it a flip. If you tell it to flip as a larger sprite, you basically have to. It basically flips the whole thing. So what I might do is maybe in sprite memory, I can make a pointer where this is just a where this sprite gets created, or it could be referenced, but as a flip of this. I don't know. That's just a lot more. It's a lot more complicated on my end. If you wanted to be really authentic, you can go through and do that and just draw all the sprites by hand and not use any of the helper methods. I've been trying to strike that balance between making it authentic but easy for people to use who maybe don't want to go through all the hassle of building an authentic sort of 8-bit game. So what I wanted to make sure is that now let's bring over the sprites that we cut out and make sure that everything just sort of matches up. So I was back in the let's see, we have sandbox 2. I'm just going to take this sprite sheet where I remove the upper left-hand corner of this guy and some of these unused sprites. And let's go to the sandbox here, and I'm just going to paste that in and replace it. Now, right away, if we refresh this, I think the color is a little bit off. I think I used a different color map. So let's open up the sprites and the color map and remap the colors correctly. It's unfortunately there is a learning curve to Pixel Vision 8's workflow. The good news is that once you understand the learning curve, it allows you a lot more creative control than other fantasy consoles, and that's something that I really strived for. You'll see there's like a subtle difference in the grayscale that I used when I made this game. So we'll just remap everything, and that should fix it now. Let's hit refresh. There we go. All of our sprites are there, and we now have. Oh, cool! Looks like we have somehow it compressed it even more than before. I wonder what sprite isn't being included. Something must have been. What am I missing? Interesting. All right. Let's so now that that's done, let's go and we're going to I'm going to hit the builder, which is going to go through and rebuild it's going to rebuild a Lua file that has all the sprites in it. And I'll sort of show you what that does. So this builder, I have this folder here called Sprite Builder, and I basically have PNGs for what like the larger versions of the sprite should look like, because all sprites are 8 by 8. The builder goes through and looks to see, it breaks up this image into 8 by 8 sections, and then it sees if these sprites are in memory, and if it is, it creates a Lua file here called SB Sprites, and in SB Sprites it gives me all the sprite IDs. So this sort of helps speed up building out your building out larger sprites so that you don't have to do all this stuff by hand. If I run this, hopefully it doesn't throw errors. I have to fix this this splash screen. I just want to see if there's a little bit of a graphic error, but for the most part, let's see. We'll run through a game real quick and just see if we can. Yeah, for some reason this one level the guy doesn't spawn at the right place. Like, yeah, like it's spawning at the default point. It's not finding the right position, but that's fine. I'll look into that. Right now, my main concern is just seeing if we can reduce the sprite count, which I think we've done. Oh, you know what's missing? Our bad guy. Why is the bad guy missing? Did I delete the wrong bad guy? No, he's right here. Interesting. Why is he not being parsed? Huh. Okay. No, he's here. I wonder if sprite builder. So enemy jumper, enemy jumper, enemy jumper 4. We don't need. Where is our boss? All right. So it looks like boss here, boss idle. Let's take a look real quick and debug this and see why. Why this guy isn't showing up. So we're going to, you want to make sure that the color spaces match. So this is a pretty common problem where the color spaces don't match up. And because they don't match up, then we wind up with sprites that can't be parsed. So let's replace this PNG, large file size, fine. And then in here, I'm going to open these guys up and just make sure that they're remapped to the right color space. So let's do this. I'm going to remap this guy's eyes real quick. And let's see if we can get him just to show up. So we'll save that boss idle and reload this, because the boss is here. Although I am really concerned, we are missing some stuff. Let me do the rebuild real quick, and I want to take a look at what the sprite builder file says. It's our action background. Oh, you know what? I'm in the wrong folder. I don't know why I'm in the tile map. Let's open up here. SB sprites. Oops. Sure, open up the save file. SB sprites. So there should be a boss. Boss hurt, boss idle 2, and boss idle 3. It is finding all these things. Why didn't the boss show up? All right. So there are two things that I'm seeing that I'm not following why there's graphical glitches. One is the curtains have some issue. Oh, wait, look at that. There's some issues on the death animation. All right. Let's see if the boss shows up now. Nope. I think the boss not showing up has more to do with the collision flags. Level 6. That's not right. Alright. That's strange. Interesting. I wonder why these little graphic glitches are showing up. Let's take a look at the tile map and see what's going on here. All right, everything looks right. I know the problem is definitely going to be something where the I've been doing a lot of code changes to the flags and the way that the flag stuff gets rendered, and the collision flags are basically used. They're used in order to help you create collision first off, but what I wanted to see was I also use them here to spawn enemies. So there should be a where's the boss battle? So here's the boss battle. And this is flag 10. So let me look real quick in the scene level. We need to know what enemy it is. If flag equals 8, total stars equals. Scene level update, scene level draw, scene level reset. I can't remember scene level game. Let me see where I sort of spawn this stuff. What I want to see is spawn star, reset, go to screen, scroll position, new random tiles, and exit position. If flag equals 2, then self exit position. Right. If flag equals 9, we haven't done anything. Flag equals 8. Flag equals 11. So what I noticed here was that this is flag equals 10. So I think this stuff got shifted down. This is flag equals 8. So this is right. When I did shift things around, I think I tweaked the way that I generated the colors for the flags. So I have a feeling that, all right, so the boss battle needs to be 10. Resetting the player should be flag 14 now, because I think that got shifted down. Right? Let's take a look. This is flag 14 now. All right. If there's nil, there's nothing. 8 seems to work fine. 9 we're ignoring, and flag 2 should be the exit, which is fine. So there just seemed to be something between. I think it's like after 8, I had to tweak it by like 1 value to change the flag stuff. So all right, so let's. This, I don't have to do anything here. We should just be able to restart the game and everything should work fine. Then we have to look into why those little graphic glitches. Oh, it didn't work. Huh? Why is it not spawning in the right place? Did I not save this? Here, okay. Let's actually save our code for a second. All right, so now he's spawning in the right place, and we'll take a look and we'll make sure that the boss can be spawned as well. So that's sort of that was one thing that I needed to just test. I'm kind of confused as to why. Whoops. Kind of confused as to why that wound up. Why those flags shifted like that. I've gotten like insanely good at this game. I watched someone who did like a YouTube review of it after Ludum Dare, and like they struggled for like a while. But this game is like second nature to me. But it's just I sort of like the curse. There we go. There's our boss guy. Hey, buddy. It's sort of like, you know, you play the game so long and you become like really good at it. I'm just really confused why. It seems like there's something with like a transparent area in the mask gets mapped over to this like this dashed line thing. All right, for the most part, that's all working. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back in here. I would really love to know why it looks like the word in is missing. Come here for a second. Why is in missing? Oh, no, in's right there. If you're just tuning in, I'm just basically going through and taking one of my Ludum Dare games. I'm just cleaning it up, but I'm just trying to create a more compressed set of sprites in memory so that we can adhere to this 2 pages of memory that Pixel Vision 8's Game Boy template has. All right, so well, we're getting close enough. Let's go in and let's at least set this now to now. You know, that's the second time I've noticed that bug. Hold on, let's go here. I've noticed that. Okay, that's a new bug that I need to file real quick. New issue. Need to override. Need to override file path. So when file browser saves a path, but clicking on the save icon in the tool bar still loads the old path. This should be overridden. Oops. Give me. This should be overridden by the new path when loading from the toolbar. That's annoying. I thought I fixed that, but I must have just introduced a new one. Produce. Let's see here. Go to file picker. That's annoying. Is it 2? Go to file picker. Navigate to folder. Go to tool. Hit save icon. Notice path is at last folder and not in the project, not in the sandbox directory. All right. More bugs to fix. What else is new? Okay, so glad I caught that. So what I was doing was, right, we're going to go into data here, and we're going to reduce this back down to 2 pages of memory and hit save. And now when we come back into the sprite editor, we should have these 2 pages of memory. So next, what I want to take a look at is why the empty sprite is being replicated by the first position. So I'm a little confused as to that. First, I want to go in here. We're going to go into the tile map, and I just want to fix. Let's put the sprites here. Did I close out the tile map? Good job, Jesse. I just want to fix this splash screen real quick. So I can just copy out this piece here. And this is all gone now. And I'm going to paste this in here so that it matches up. And then we'll just we'll just replace the color. Did I have magenta set? So the magenta is a mask color. It's basically just going to make sure that that everything is masked off correctly. Why is that all garbled down there? Interesting. I'm trying to find, I'm also trying to notice areas where when it outputs when it generates out this tile map PNG where it might not be rendering it correctly. So I don't know if this is something to be concerned about right now, but I'll have to look at it later and just double check. Let's set this to magenta and save it. And now all I'm doing is I'm just making sure that the when Pixel Vision 8 loads up the background, it's going to look through each of these tiles and it's going to compare them to what's in sprite memory, and if they exist, it'll line it up. It'll lay it out correctly. So this is, I designed this in a way where if you wanted to create layouts in Photoshop, you can basically do them really quickly. I'm actually going to, since we don't use all of these tile maps, I'm going to just reduce this a little bit here. That's the boss one. Image, crop. It'll make this load up faster. That's all. There's nothing really special to it. In fact, what I'll probably do is 4, 5, 6 calculator. 4, 5, 6 divided by 8 is 57. Let's go in and we'll just change this to well, let's test it out real quick. It should load up everything. Right, we'll get down here, and now we don't have any of those reproduced extra stuff. So what we'll do is we're gonna change the height of the tile map so that it ends at the last row of levels. So we'll go back into data here, and we'll make this 58 and save it. So now when we come back into the tile map, it should just load real fast, and the less it has to go through and parse stuff, the faster it's going to load, and not the better performance, but it's all, once it's all in memory, it's in memory. It's just going to be a little easier. Now, I'm just looking for some interesting things, like why these things aren't actually showing up in the tile map. So they're little subtle things, and these little subtle tells are going to let me know where there are problems in the parser. So let's see here. What tile are we at? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. So right here, for some reason, this isn't loading up correctly. Let me see if there's anything in here that I'm missing. No. We'll save this again, and let's reload it and see if we can get this to load correctly. All right. So there must have just been some like weird, I don't know, pixel off. Photoshop is like a little testy when it comes to like matching up index colors correctly from PNGs. I don't know why it's so bad at it, but it's terribly bad at it. So what I wanted to see was this is what we'll do next. We'll just get this stuff matched up, and whoops, let's add the magenta mask. Again, the magenta is going to just be transparent. Fill the gray with red maybe and show all the odd ones. Yeah, I don't know. It should. I thought I went through and masked everything off correctly, but anywhere we see those little graphic problems, that's all that it is. And that's a limitation of Pixel Vision 8. It's just its parser is very, very particular to any deviation in color. All right, so that looks good now. So what I wanted to do next was let's go back into the sprites for a second and take a look here. There are some there's something that's concerning me, that we're missing a row of sprites that we didn't have before. And when I play the game, it looks like the logo is there, but even the logo has that like errant, if you look at the bottom right, like right over here, it has where that empty, that completely empty tile is it's filling it in with the first one. So let's rebuild the sprite builder, and I want to take a look at what it's actually generating out. So there should be like a logo. I forget what I called logo. Here we go. So that's interesting. That last sprite is showing up as 0 when it really should show up as empty. Now let's take a look. Hold on one second. All right. Hold my breath. No, my wife is out of town and my boys are playing in the other room, so I was getting a call to ask how much longer I'm going to be working. All right, what I wanted to see real quick was let's see if we can just fix this one little problem. I don't know why this isn't registering as -1. So let's take a look real quick in the let's look at the sprites and see. First off, let's just delete this. Maybe there's some pixel or something I'm missing here. It's doesn't look like it, but let's just say there's a pixel I'm missing. I'm gonna delete that. Let's get rid of the magenta, and then let's resave this as a PNG. Replace. We'll save this. Now all of a sudden it doesn't want to, like, hold on. Ugh, Photoshop killing me today. All right, we've cleared this. We're saving this, and now I also want to open up in the sprite builder the outputted version. And let's see, here's the logo. Let's just come in here, and just to make sure, let's clear this one tile. Because what I'm trying to understand, I hate when my voice cracks, like I'm like a little kid. Is there a problem with there's two places where I'm trying to debug. Is there a problem with parsing things on transparency, because I sort of removed that feature? It should function, but just in case, I want to make sure that that's not the problem. The other is it seeing some errant pixel or some shifting color, or is the sprite builder just defaulting to 0 when it should just be -1? So let's rebuild this. We can test it out real quick by playing it, and nope. All right, so I have a feeling that there is a problem with the sprite builder, because what I'm noticing is that everything that's 0 should probably be -1. Like if I came in here and I changed this to -1, and I reloaded this, and I replayed this, you see that that little piece is gone. Also interesting is that these guys are cropped, so we could probably get some more. Space out of this by getting rid of. There was some other guys in the splash screen. Yeah, all of this is cropped out. So we don't even see this guy. Trying to think if there's a place I could move him where he'd be. Well, you know, there's some other stuff that I'm probably going to want to add in later. So let's all of this we don't even see because of there's an 8-pixel border on the left and bottom of the display, which is the buffer, or not the buffer. It's basically the overscan. So let's fill this up here with this. And we'll just get rid of this. And now I'm just going to take from here to here. We'll copy this. We're going to save this PNG, and we're going to go to our tile map, and we're just going to fix this here. So we no longer see this or this guy. We can delete. Well, I have to look into where that guy went. Interesting. Why is this shifted? Maybe they do exist. Hold on, what's the resolution here? 160. No, it would be 152. I wonder if this whole thing is shifted off. Let's just copy this and go here to the tile map and paste this over so that it matches up, and then we'll delete everything underneath it. So, all right. We'll save that. These sprites match up now. And now if we, let's rerun this. And hey, we're getting back even more sprites. And we'll run the game. Let's see the splash screen. We just got one little I wonder why it does that. One little weird graphic glitch. Something when it gets copied over, apparently. I guess it just doesn't like that. Where's the tile map? I think the real solution to this problem is just to stop using Photoshop. I should be using Aseprite. I wouldn't have any of these problems. All right. It's right here. It doesn't have this sprite in memory. All right. Look at that. Here, are you sure you want to convert the colors to a destination document with the color profile that does not match the current RGB working space? Yeah, see, this is the problem here. We're mixing and matching stuff here from different RGB spaces. That's not good. All right, let's delete that and then merge this and save it. What space is this thing in? Mode, RGB, sprites, mode, RGB. Why are they in different color spaces though? Source, RGB, IEC 6. Ugh, destination display. Isn't this the exact same thing? Ugh. Does not match the current RGB working. I don't understand Photoshop and its RGB. Is it that this is 8-bit and this is 8-bit? Troll program. Look at that. I mean, it's the same exact thing. So how do I convert this RGB? Let's save it here. PNG 24, transparency. Converts to RGB. Monitor color. Save. Now let's try restarting this. Oh, there goes my dog. Get him. Get him, Cujo. Get him, Cujo. My dog like sits, speaking of trolls, my dog sits at the, there's a chair by our living room, and it looks out the window and barks at other dogs that are, that walk past and pee on our yard. Let's see here. We ended a Pomodoro, and I didn't even log it. ReaperBoy. What are we doing here? We are adding in move artwork back in the project. All right. I think I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to come back to this another day. But what I want to try to figure out. There's one other thing that I want to do, which is I just want to figure out why why the sprite builder wasn't generating things correctly. And I want to do one thing real quick. Let's compress all of these sprites and reload this. And now redo the builder and rerun this. And that's still going to show up with that weird glitch. What I'm going to do in the logo is let's set this background to magenta. I'm trying to rule out all of the issues here. Let's save this to the same color space as the sprites. Sprite builder, save, replace, and come back in here and reload this. And now let's do the builder. All right, so the interesting part of this is I think it's a color space issue. Save. Let's just save it with the transparency. I'm hoping it's not the magenta as the issue, because that would be a whole other mess that I have to deal with. Let's run this. So interesting. I think if the all right, that is a really interesting bug. Basically, what's happening is if the sprite builder file is not on magenta, it treats empty as 0. So there's a bug in the sprite builder that I must have introduced. Like here, if I rebuild this now and I rerun this, everything looks fine. All right, I need to log that bug. And I think this is probably where I'm going to end, because I've racked up quite a few bugs here. And also, my meetings are going to start soon. So it's time to stop part of my job and go to the other part of my job, which is not really as much fun. What do we need to do here? So sprite builder bug with empty pixels. Of a PNG reference, sprite builder folder. The empty sprites are set to 0 instead of -1, creating graphic glitches. Where did I send these things to? So image 1, image 2, and let's submit this new issue, sprite builder bug with empty pixels. All right, so I think that's let's end this here. I think that's all the time that I really have for today. I'm gonna come back tomorrow and we'll do some more stuff. What let me test out one other thing real quick. Let's come here to the sprites. Wait a minute, are the sprites transparent? All right, let's see here. Let me get rid of the sprite cache, move to trash. Sprites. So this is empty. So this is on transparency. And this is an empty tile. I think I already know where this bug is, but I just want to do one other test real quick. Let's do the builder and let's run this. So if the sprite it's parsing is... I wonder if I set this to magenta and save it and reload it, if all the sprites will show up. Nope. Still missing some. Fascinating. If I do the builder and I rerun this, ReaperBoy looks correct, but what I want to do now is, let's go back into here and get rid of this and save this as transparent and save it. I may not be in the sprite builder, I may not be taking into account the mask color. These parsers that I've written are pretty hard. I rebuilt them all over the past. Yep, there we go. That's what it is. It's if this isn't on magenta, regardless of this parses correctly. So we can save this, and if we set this to transparent, save it as the logo, replace, and we save this and we exit this and we rebuild it, we will get the glitch because it can't tell when it's parsing something from the sprite builder folder. I don't think they're still I still think they're not fully aligned yet with how the game engines parser. I've been trying to get them to use the same parser, but it's not very easy. It's just been taking a lot of architecture on my part to restructure the parsers. When it hits that transparent, that all transparent, it immediately thinks that it's I just need to force the sprite builder to say if a sprite is completely empty to make it -1 and not 0. There must be some sort of cap on it, because then that'll fix all the other issues that I was having in the game. Like right here, let's die real quick, and you gotta get enough speed up. You'll see that there is some transparency. This is all transparency, and it's showing the same exact sprite. It's just defaulting to 0 instead of -1. So that should be a pretty straightforward fix. All right. So sort of how I've done this in the past. I'm gonna take a break. Which is my word for I'm gonna stop recording now. I think this is good. Let's. We're not gonna save any changes here. And this is sort of why I'm including, well, this is one why I'm redoing this, because I wanted to go through and make sure this artwork works correctly. But two, a lot has changed in the game engine since I built this game. So I haven't really tested out the sprite builder on like some old artwork or an older game. So this is a good example of like, it's a very small edge case, but because everything is very organized now in the code base, it's become a lot easier for me to figure out how to get this stuff to, at least how to fix it. So I think, what we logged a few bugs. Generally what I do is at night, after all my meetings and my real day job stuff is done, I'll go through and I'll fix these bugs. And then tomorrow morning, hopefully my wife will be home, unless there's a snowstorm again. And I should have a little bit more time to actually do some streaming. And then I'm hoping to be able to stream for the rest of the week. And then next week I'm gone in Europe for like 10 or 11 days for work. So we'll try to get some stuff done before then. I'm hoping to release this new version of the game before the end of the week. Well, at least Pixelvision 8 before the end of the week. I have a whole new website and everything ready to go too. And when I come back from my trip, we're going to take a look at how to take some of Amazon's new Game On APIs, and I'm going to build them into this game and turn this little sort of score beater game that I wrote in 72 hours for a game jam, and we're going to turn it into a esports title, a casual esports title. So, all right, thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you guys hopefully tomorrow.